First of all, Jayson Tatum needs to sit out the year. I mean, what are we doing? What are you doing? There is no benefit to be gained coming back this year. There just isn't.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, in segment 1, the 60-day sprint, reshaping the NBA in terms of key storylines to watch for the second half of the season. Segment 2, Adam Silver has declared war on tanking. That's a random Monday Night Raw reference from the 90s. And then in segment 3, we still got the 11th hour standoff with the WNBA Players Association and the league, and Unrivaled is taking their show on the road. Joining us today, our international correspondent, Coach FD, and our favorite administrator, Robert Abney's with us. Let's go with our OCP top 6 in the Eastern Conference. Pistons are 1, Boston 2, Knicks 3, Cavs 4, Raptors 5, and the Philadelphia 76ers are 6. In the play-in tournament, if you want to play, the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Charlotte Hornets are on fire. And lottery bound for this outstanding draft, Bulls, Bucks, Nets, Wizards, and the Pacers. Hottest teams in the East, Cavs, Pistons, Boston, Knicks, and Hornets. In the Western Conference, OKC still on top, but they are struggling, folks. Spurs are 2, Denver's 3, Rockets 4, Lakers 5, T-Wolves 6. In the play-in, the Suns, Devin Booker's out for a little bit, though. The Warriors, the Blazers, the Clippers, and lottery bound Memphis, Dallas, Utah, Kings, and New Orleans. Hottest teams, Spurs and the T-Wolves. Coming off a very celebrated All-Star game, FD, how are we feeling as we go into the second part of the year before we get the key storylines to watch?
Yeah, definitely. They play hard this All-Star game, and it was amazing. But when I don't want to focus about the All-Star, I want to say, there was something very special. I don't know if everybody see that. Yes, Wemby set the tone by the way the way he come to the All-Star game. But what I saw too, I saw a new generation of superstar taking the accountability. They say, Anthony Edwards, Kate Cunningham, this man is awesome. It's maybe for me the MVP of this season. They say, okay, we're gonna be now the face of the NBA. We're gonna show that, okay, now we are the Victor Wembanyama, Kate Cunningham, Jalen Brown. We're gonna show that, okay, this is our league right now. And it's not just about playing, competing and playing hard, but it's about, show up and just show that, okay, we are the new sheriff of the league right now. And I really appreciate to see that and to see this team won. And I think so many of these players will be in the Olympic of Los Angeles, the team that won this All-Star game. And I think now we're going to be very excited how the season will end, and also for the next season for the NBA.
Robert, really quick before we really narrow down key storylines, a lot was mentioned about the All-Star game. FD did a great job of summarizing just the kind of new flavor. And I kind of like Anthony Edwards, just in terms of just his approach to the game. Any thoughts on the celebration of playing hard? I'm guessing. I don't know the best way to say it. What are you thinking?
It's kind of like we're awarding participation trophies in 8-year-old soccer. Yay, you played hard. They're professionals, and to me, we should expect that. But I get where people are coming from. I didn't watch it. My understanding was it was a much improved show from previous years.
And it is a television show. You are correct.
The All-Star game is entertainment for the fans. It is not, I mean, did they play hard? Sure. Did they play playoffs hard? Absolutely not.
Yeah. I do want to mention, because KD said, hey, I watched the All-Star games from the past, because he is a basketball historian, and he was talking about watching the first quarter. And we even said on the show, first quarter, let's have a little fun. Second quarter, let's make sure everybody played.
Mm-hmm.
Third quarter, let's ramp it up, and then fourth quarter close. So it was a couple of fourth quarters kind of All-Star games. But then when you got to that last game, it was kind of like the first quarter of an All-Star game. So I'm glad you brought it up, FD, because I wasn't. Because again, the level of care that I had wasn't as high. I was a little disappointed that there was this celebration tour of exerting effort, and I'm in the school system, so yeah.
Coach.
Can we give the best effort the first time every time? Go ahead, FD.
Yeah. But Robert, you are expert of basketball. Man, I'm thinking about a fan. In France, the All-Star game was at 11 p.m. Sometime when you have some All-Star game at this time, I know many people, they see the game and they sleep because of but now everybody in France, I'm talking about, international, that I I was like, oh, damn, you see the first game. So they were competing, so why? Because I understand your standpoint. I'm like, we are expert of basketball and we want to, for us, it's normal, coach. You coach for 30 years, and Robert has been in basketball for too many years. So we have so many expectations, and it's normal. I mean, but I'm thinking about a young fan. He
I
just
love this.
them. That's what better than last year. That's why
And that's why we hang around you guys, man, because we need all of this, which takes us to the key storylines to watch for the end of the season, because I'm sure we're going to be all over the place with that. So you've got things like the possible return of Jayson Tatum. You've got James Harden with the Cavs. He's going to let you down in the playoffs. You got Wemby versus the field, and he has played at a high level. You got the Duke kids of Cooper Flagg and Knueppel. And you also got Nikola Jokić probably going to get robbed of the MVP based on the 65-game rule. Robert, out of all of the storylines headed into the end of the season, what are you interested in following?
First of all, Jayson Tatum needs to sit out the year. I mean, what are we doing? What are you doing? There is no benefit to be gained coming back this year. There just isn't. And just sit out the year. Call it good. It's okay. To me, I think the most interesting thing is watching the top three teams in the West, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Nuggets, and watching how that plays out, not only because I think those are the three best teams, but also because they have the three of the best players and three of the most compelling players. I still feel like they currently sit Thunder 1, Spurs 2, Nuggets 3, and I think that's probably how it will play out. You really want to be number one if you can, because you don't want to play 2 or 3 until you have to. So to me, that's the most compelling. That's the most compelling thing. James Harden with the Cavs. Our conversations regarding James Harden and how things go in the playoffs are well chronicled, and I just add it won't end well. That's it. It won't end well.
All right, FD, headed into this sprint, what are you thinking? What storylines are you kind of keeping your eye on as the NBA hits the home stretch, if you will?
Yes, first of all, the Pistons own the Knicks, and they're just crazy how I'm a Knicks fan. This is a great franchise, legendary franchise. But how the Pistons, they beat them 3 times this season with a plus differential of 82 points. And the craziest thing is that the last game they beat them at the Madison Square Garden without, two of the centers. So, and I really love this Piston team. I think they have something, maybe not winning the title because they they all in on Kate Cunningham, and in playoff it's more difficult, but they play very well. They are tough. They play defense. They compete every time, and I really love this team. And I agree with Robert about the Cavs. Uh, I don't think it will be great in the playoff. It could be difficult for them because you need to play defense, and Allen is a great player. But at the point, yeah, you need to play defense, and if you don't play defense, it's difficult to win. And in the West, definitely agree with Robert about this 3 team. They are in the huge mountain. It's gonna be very difficult to be behind those teams. And the team that we end first, we have a huge advantage because when you play the game 7 at home, it is a huge advantage to go to the final.
Yeah, I'm going to muck this up because the storyline I want to follow, shockingly, is the Los Angeles Lakers. The reason why I want to follow the Los Angeles Lakers is because media pundit after media pundit says the Dallas trade of Luka to the Lakers was the worst trade ever. And my doctorate is the best and worst doctorate. It's in organizational leadership with an emphasis in organizational development. And I said, okay, wait a second. A fat, underperforming guy who doesn't work hard and cost a lot of money is traded. Okay, next. Then he goes to an organization and wait for it, he gets in great off-season shape. Okay, next. Now we're playing 82 games. Wait, nobody plays 82 games. Okay. And they're fifth. Okay. And now we've got 60 games left. And Robert mentioned OKC, Spurs, Denver, and I'm going to throw in Houston. Okay. So you might not make it out of the first round of the playoffs. So if you're not making it out of the first round of playoffs, why not tank, which we'll talk about in segment 2, and say, I'm good? Because membership has its privileges until you're not a member anymore. So I'm just excited about watching what I think is going to happen. And I think the Lakers are going to be out in the first round. And then was it really the worst trade ever? I don't know. So with that being said, in segment 2, let's talk about Adam Silver and let's talk about his why. Raw is war, by the way. Or tanking. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CK Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. Adam Silver, NBA commissioner has declared war on tanking. So Commissioner Silver described the current tanking levels as, quote, worse than recent memory, unquote. The league is also reacting to internal pressure from owners like the Suns and possibly some of the league partners in terms of things strictly for entertainment purposes only. It's only speculation, but I could speculate that. And what came across my desk was that Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, is a senior advisor to the NBA, and he called for a, quote, prompt, tasteful attack on the issue. And I love when the old heads with nothing to lose, which is why Robert's my favorite administrator, because he can say anything he wants because I don't care. And when Mike Krzyzewski says, you might want to do something, you might want to do something. So here are some of the proposals on the table. One, the anti-repeat rule, which prevents teams from picking in the top 4 in consecutive years. 2, the freeze, locking lottery odds at the trade deadline to prevent late season fire sales. 3, the winning tax, banning teams from top 4 picks if they made the conference finals the previous year. 4, performance averaging, which is something we did when I was an athletic director, using 2-year records to determine odds and making a 1-year dive less effective. And 5, financial enforcement. The NBA is already fining teams for sitting healthy players. So, Rob, this has come across your desk. What do you say about Adam Silver's war on tanking?
So I actually think a couple of these actually make a fair amount of sense to me. I can see keeping teams from picking in the top 4 in consecutive years. That makes sense to me. I don't. I guess I am not a draft historian, so I couldn't tell you, but it doesn't seem to me like picking second 1 year and the next year picking 5th. I don't know how much of a difference maker that is. That kind of, but that idea makes some sense to me, as does the performance averaging. Those two things make some sense to me in terms of how to manage this, because it is an issue. Teams are clearly tanking. They're clearly doing it. And we know that fans pay good money to watch games, and they do not pay good money to watch teams not lose on purpose, but definitely not try to win. I think I saw somewhere that there were companies, gambling companies, DraftKings, etc., giving Adam Silver some difficulty because of the preseason overs that they have chosen, over-unders that they win totals that they had chosen, and how the team's tanking was impacting the betting lines on that, and it was going to impact the bottom lines of these companies because of the payouts. Unintended consequences, right? I think one thing that the NBA needs to be careful with is you don't want. It's not good for teams, and it's not good for the league if you get teams in situation. And the best comparison is actually an NFL team. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who for the past how many years have won 8, 9, 10 games, been in the playoffs more often than not, only to get ushered out in the first round because they're bad, right? They're not good enough to win a playoff game. They're just good enough to get in. And, you can ask yourself, and teams can ask themselves, what benefit is that to just be good enough to make the playoffs if you don't have a chance to win? So there are a lot of there are a lot of moving pieces to this, and I think that in my opinion, people tend to overreact, but again, I'm not enough. I am not. I am too casual of an NBA fan to get really wrapped up in that stuff.
Yeah. Now, FD, one of the things we love is your international perspective. That brings a lot to our show. I've got to say that again. And you blew us up last week by mentioning the relegation piece. We're still laughing at the Capital City Go-Go replacing the Washington Wizards if we did relegation. Which, man, you want some interest, you want to play hard, yeah, that'll do it. You hear this stuff over and over. And as a business leader, I don't want people talking about my product negatively like this. This is awful that the NBA has to have a conversation about the integrity of results. It's not good. What are you thinking about it, sir?
So, like I said last week, I really think relegation is a good option, but I'm just kidding because when I saw the rules of Adam Silver of the commission, I said, "Damn, that's good. Okay, he's doing his best. I think he's doing his best, and we have to congratulate to try to do. But are those rules really going to change? I don't know. I don't know. And really, honestly, I don't have many thinking, but I think that you know there has to be done something and quickly because for the fan it's very important to see but I don't have honestly a solution. And I hear I listened to somebody say that maybe it was coach Jeff Stan Van Gundy. Why not, the draft is over and like it is done in Europe, player are just every team can sign different player. And I was thinking, yeah, it's a great idea, but the only thing I was seeing the Kidrick Perkins show. He said being drafted is something special, and that's the only thing. But there's no great solution, and really not. I can't say you what's good to do. But well, the only thing I think is that something has to be done because this tanking is crazy. You come to a game, I saw last time a game of the Utah Jazz. You have 3 or 4 of the best players not playing. Okay, that's not good.
Yeah. As a former season tickets holder of the Washington Wizards, 10 years, and then the bottom fell out. I'm a fan, and Robert, I'd love for you to reply to this. As an old AD, I'm a fan of the NBA doing drafting based on the last 3-year average of your team. And that's the safest, I think, way to do it because yeah, I mean, it works for so many schools around the country just to do your schedule. So you've got your regular, teams that you played, and then you had hard schedules, but because the NBA plays the same amount, plus them adding 2 teams in the future, I just think the 3-year average would probably be the best way to do it. Tell me I'm wrong, Robert, and it's okay.
No, I like that idea. I really do. To me that makes a lot of sense, because it takes away the leverage that 1 year where you just say, you know what, we're not going to try. It takes that 1 year and it balances it out, right? I think that you do have teams that are bad for long stretches. I mean, remember the Sixers and the process. They were not good for a very long time. That process took way longer than I think anybody planned, right? I don't know if that impacts team, what impact that would have on fans. How are fans going to, I mean, does that, if a team stays bad for that long, because I think I think that would be one of the things that would happen would be that, you're going to have some of these teams be bad longer. because of that average? And, how does that affect people's bottom lines? How does that affect fans?
And as an educator, again, this is my joke. A lot of people agree with it. I can get your test scores up for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that for a year. But if you really want sustained results, then hey, let's do it over a 3-year average. Robert was a middle school administrator. I worked directly with middle school, and unfortunately, for the work that we were doing, I was only able to do it for a 2-year cycle. But we saw, with some specific things in place, grades go up over that cycle of 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Same thing in high school. We saw that with intentional, preventative, school-based mentoring, we saw grades go up. So if you did your lottery or your draft order based on a 3-year cycle, I think you can get, a little bit more of what you're looking for in terms of competitive balance. But with that, we're going to move on. And in segment 3, we're going to talk about the 11th hour. And we have our legal correspondent coming in with us. We'll be right back on the iCoaches Podcast.
Today's student athletes face pro-level challenges without pro-level support. The CKA SAVE project is here to change that. For 16 plus years, Dr. Keith Adams and his team have provided comprehensive academic and athletic support from middle school through post-graduation transitions. NIL guidance, transfer portal navigation, academic coaching, career planning, they've got it covered. The CKA SAVE project. When your future is on the line, experience matters. Learn more at www.ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the iCoaches Podcast. And in segment 3, it's almost March, people, and the WNBA labor standoff is still happening. So the WNBA PA, the Players Association, has submitted a significant counter proposal to the league offering, wait for it, concessions on revenue sharing and housing in hopes of breaking a 16-month deadlock. With training camps set to start in March, that's next week, folks, and 80% of the league are currently free agents. The pressure is mounting on Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the union to avoid a work stoppage that could derail the league's momentum. So here's what we're talking about. Gross revenue versus net revenue. This is the primary bottleneck. The WNBA players want 27.5% of gross revenue, which is total income before expenses, and the league is offering 70% of net revenue, profits after expenses like charter flights and arena upgrades. And the union, argues that that's less than 15% of the total pie. You also have the unrealistic label. The WNBA claims that the players' plan would lead to a $460 million net loss over the lifetime of the deal. You also have the housing piece. The union proposed a phase-out model for housing where teams would provide housing for rookies and minimum salary players, but veterans on protected multi-year deals would eventually be responsible for your own housing. And then you have the logistical traffic jam. You have 2 new teams. Toronto and Portland have no players. You have the college draft, and this year's NCAA's women's tournament is shaping up to be one of the better ones in the last 25 years. And you also have free agency on hold, and you have NBA Commissioner Adam Silver publicly urging both sides to act with next-level intensity and urgency. Danny, what started off as a joke has now become part of your life every week. What are you thinking as we get to the 11th hour? Every week we're at the 11th hour. What are you thinking, sir?
As much closer as the bell tolls, we are wondering, is this going to be the death of the 30th season of the WNBA? Because it is all coming down to housing and revenue sharing. Let's start with the housing. They're guaranteeing housing for this year and then I think it's supposed to phase out. So you're wondering, does the league even care anymore? Because now they're just trying to figure out a way to meet these concessions that the players are asking for. We're not going to spend time talking about the revenue sharing because we already know what we're getting with. No one knows what their expenses are, so you can't say 70% after expenses. So the league has no idea. The players were trying to meet them at some point where I think they were trying to get a 27.5% revenue share before expenses start coming into play. Again, we have no clue what the expenses are. So you can't base your thoughts on that because of the fact that if the league is not sharing what their expenses are, how are we going to know? So we already know we're going to get with revenue sharing. The point that got to me was the housing concessions, which I find to be all the way disrespectful to a player, especially a first year or a minimum salary player. So that is something the league have guaranteed their players since '99. So that's something that they have always been working on and always had in the CBA. Now you're guaranteeing housing, and I think it was 2027 or 2028, you're going to phase it out where those players should be on higher contracts and they should be able to pay for your own housing. Not going to work. Not with the way housing and apartment prices and rent prices are looking nowadays. So the league and the players better get this out because right now they're still on standby. The players can call for a strike at any point. And then you already got to deal with the fact that you got 2 expansion teams, you got to get their expansion draft in. You have a league draft coming up, and majority of the league are still free agents. You better hurry and get this done before the bell tolls death.
All right. So, Robert, you just got your coffee. Your assistant handed you a folder, and this is on the top of your folder. You take your sip. How are you looking at this, sir?
The key issue, and Danny already talked about this, is we have no idea what that revenue and what the expenses are. And I don't think the players have any idea, and the league isn't telling anyone. So there's no way to know how much money we're really talking about. And I don't know how you have good faith negotiations if you don't even know what you're negotiating over. I don't understand. I don't. And maybe that 70% of, 70% of the net revenue, maybe that's a huge number that would actually be acceptable to the players if they knew what the number was. But without knowing those numbers, I don't know how I don't know how you negotiate in good faith. And I still feel, we've been really skeptical all along. I think Adam Silver at some point will just come in, will swoop in and resolve this for them. Because I think the NBA still has enough of an interest in the WNBA being successful to do that. I think someone will come in and fix it. But it does not look good right now, and I don't know how if we get into the middle of March and they still haven't resolved this. I don't know how you do all of the things that we've talked about, the draft, free agency, expansion draft, all of that. I don't know how that happens before the season is supposed to start in May.
Yeah, they say deadlines for actions in business. It's one of the things that they say. But then there's this, because it's hard to just run a league. That's hard. It's just hard to the logistics of doing a draft. is hard by itself. The logistics of doing an expansion draft for one new team, much less two, that's kind of just challenging. Just the day-to-day operations of insert amount of teams is just hard. And all you're doing is making it harder. And we're talking about dollars and cents, and money gets in the way of a lot of stuff. So with that, FD, can't wait to hear this. You're hearing this, and you've coached women's basketball. You have experience with this, but on the labor side, I'm sure this is a lot. Any thoughts before we close with Unrivaled?
Yeah, definitely. What I want to say first of all is, when you are in a business you have partner, the one word that you need everybody has to have is trust. And what I mean by trust, and Danny and Robert did an amazing job to just fix it. When you talk about net revenue, you don't know what is the amount you're gonna have, because nobody know, and you can build a system with that, because there's no trust. You don't know what are we talking about. But and that's what the NBA is doing, is when you talk about gross revenue, it's more controllable for everybody. And okay, I have 40%, and you know what you're gonna have. And the second one I want just to do is, basketball, NBA, WNBA, French League, Euro League, everywhere. Basketball is a league of players. It's a league of player. You have to start with player. If player don't play, you can have basketball. You can play without, coach. You can play without, referee. We can play without, general manager. We can do that. But without player, you can't play. And so, I think the WNBA has to do, a better job, or a great job to right now fix it. It fix, in the way that player are in a good and a great position.
And this is the time to let our audience know that in addition to being a phenomenal international coach, FD has a finance background. So I did want to make sure I mention that piece. I think some of the fellas didn't know that his background isn't banking and finance. So when we're talking about the money, FD knows what he's talking about. So with that, we want to close with Unrivaled. So I'm rooting for Unrivaled. I'm not watching, not because I'm protesting or anti, is there's only been so much time in the day, but the league is on the move. Okay. Fresh off a historic night in Philly where they had almost 22,000 fans pack the Xfinity Mobile Arena, Unrivaled is taking its show on the road. So the March 2nd playoffs will move from Miami to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and they're having attendance records. They're having pop-up play. They're having stars all over the place. So, Danny, with that, one, some of the stars actually have some money. So if we go on strike, I'm good. Two, what are you thinking about Unrivaled taking their playoffs on the road to the Barclays Center?
I think that's a good strategic move, especially for the fact they're going to a city where the WNBA is prominent, because you're going to Brooklyn where, you're coming off of a team that won the championship 2 years ago. So that's a good move. And then not only that, you have the possibility of having two of their brightest stars in Brianna Stewart and Natasha Cloud playing in these semifinals in Brooklyn of all places. So I think that's a good deal, especially with what they generate as far as interest and revenue down in Philly did. Because not only that, that tells you, especially for when Philly gets their WNBA team, if things go according to plan, when they get their team, they are going to have a lot of interest coming into that arena when the Philly team comes in a couple years. So I think that's a big move. And as far as like the players go, with everything going on with CBA and trying to get those negotiations figured out, the players will come out even better with this because they're all getting some money coming in because of this league. But from a basketball standpoint, I think this is a good move. I don't think it's going to be an everyday thing. I think they're doing this strictly just for a one-stop, just to get some generation and some money in, and then have them there for the big event, which is usually the semifinals. And I think it would be even a bigger move if they get championship series there as well. So I think this is a good move for Unrivaled. I think it's a brilliant business decision just to get the interest of the league out there.
Okay. Robert, this has come across your desk. You got the negotiations on one side, and you also have this upstart group on the other side. Is this a good thing for Unrivaled? Because like you and me, we haven't watched the product, but that doesn't mean we're not rooting for it. What do you think?
I mean, sure, it's good for Unrivaled. My question with Unrivaled is this. I mean, you can take your show on the road, you can go places and draw large crowds, and that's great. But where are they going to get their money from? They're going to get their money from media rights. And you're not going to get a big TV deal if nobody's watching. And it's demonstrated that nobody's watching. I mean, it's a good from what I know, it's a good product. I have not watched a single second of it. Couldn't tell you anything about it. I couldn't tell you. I don't know the size of the floor. I don't know what the officials do. I don't know anything, right? But it seems to be a hit. I mean, you got 20,000+ people paying good money to show up in Philadelphia and watch it. But that has to translate to TV. And people watched it last year. Way fewer people are watching it this year. I am still going to wait and see on that.
Yeah, sustainability in anything is a big deal. Ask the XFL. FD, any thoughts on Unrivaled? One, have you even consumed any of the product? And two, what do you think about them taking their show on the road?
Yeah, definitely. Like Robert said, I never saw a game. I don't know. I know it's a 3-3, competition, but not know a lot about that. And it's for women basketball. It could be great if River became a challenger. And player can play something in Asia, Europe, and when it is summer, play again for River. But it's all about money, and having money is about, having a good product, like Hubert say. If you don't have visibility, and you need media to do that, it's very difficult to have a valuable product.
Yeah. And again, we were wishing them well, but I just haven't consumed the product because there's just only so many hours in the day and we're doing stuff. Danny, what do you got to say, brother?
So I looked up the TV deal because Robert brought up a good point. They have to possibly to get more ratings into watching the product on TV, because last year they were averaging about 221,000 viewers for these games when the games came on TV. This year they're averaging between I think the most average about 139,000. Some games falling barely over 100,000, maybe under 100,000. Now their media right with TNT is a 6-year deal. But there's a 3-year as an opt-out after year 3, depending on success and the ratings that the league is generating. So the thing that I'm bringing this up is because let's look at the last 3-on-3 league that came about. We know that that's the Big 3, right? The Big 3 was such a big hit in that first year. And I can tell you this now. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a Big 3 game. I really couldn't. Because one, it didn't pique my interest after a little bit. So I'm wondering if I don't want that to happen to this league, because again, it's a very good product. I've watched this season. It's very good 3-on-3 basketball. Let's just hope they don't run into that path that the Big 3 ran into, where after year 2, year 3, interest starts to peak and not many people are watching anymore.
Yeah. That's going to be tough because it is hard to watch the Big 3. But we want all basketball is global. Basketball is doing well. Basketball is healthy. We just like it to eat some more vegetables to clean out their system a little bit, I'm guessing. All right. So on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams, saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership. where coaching wisdom meets real talk. Also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. Follow at Odd Coaches on the X platform. And for more information about the CKA Save Project, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on the X platform at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Keith Adams and the CKA Save Project on social media at CKA Save Project. For more information about the CKA Save Project, visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.